Today, we will start off with what we did yesterday, and that is for us to sign up, set up the accounts, configure the billing, and see how we can create the IAM user account from the root account. Okay, I would explain that when we get there. So you would permit me to share my screen. For the signing up, I'm going to be using pictorial explanation because some kind of secrets and security details will be required, like card numbering and so forth for the configuration of AWS account. So I'll use pictorial explanation to cover that. All right. So the pages that would come on when you are configuring AWS account. That's what I'll show us. Now, without wasting our time, we talked about a particular link that would be used in logging into the free tier accounts. I want to share the link in the chat, which is aws.amazon.com/free/ the slash is forward slashes, okay? It's showing here so you can see it. All right. Permit me to put it on Word and increase it. All right. Let me put it on Word so you can see it clearly. Okay. So it's very easy for those that have not configured their account. This is it. This is the link to use. You can see https://aws.amazon.com/free and /. Once you get there, something would happen. This is what you will be seeing on your screen. You will see this will come on free AWS free tier account. Now that is what we want to configure, the AWS free tier account. You know, AWS is quite expensive using their services, so we are encouraged to use the free tier aspect of it, which will not be billed so much, or rather will not be billed within a period of 12 months. So that is that. So when you click this create free tier, like you see it, all right, immediately a page like this. All right, I'm coming. I'm going to organize that. Just give me a minute. Okay, if you can see my screen, a page like this would come on where you will be required to enter your email. Yeah, you type in your email. Can you see how it is? I think I can enlarge. Let me see if I can enlarge this slide. All right, let's just leave it the way it is. A page like this, and then you enter your email and your account name. For instance, like we have Joseph there. Joseph will input his email here and his account name. And then he will click sign in. He will click verify email address, and boom, an email would be sent to him immediately. And it will bring the code forwarded to him. Sorry about that. I'm coming. Let me get it right. Okay. From that email, he will be able to be navigated into this environment where he will be required to configure his password. You see here now, you input your password and you confirm the password. Then you enter the security check and you continue with it. Then we move on to the next page, which would be being requested of you to enter your addresses, okay, where you put in.
But this chemist, but they look and say they will not close. I said on Saturday. Okay. My chemist,
I mean, you'll be required to enter your full name. Please, somebody is speaking at the background. I'm coming. Let me see if I can mute the person. If that's not possible. Okay. All right, we are good. Let's move on. So you'll be required to enter all your details. You click in your country, you put in your home address or maybe your permanent address, the city that you're in. Then you move on to enter your, this is not showing. Just hold on a little. I want to ensure that we are seeing what we would see when we have got into, all right, this is better. Okay, all right, this is clearer. So let's go down. All right, so you see, when you get to this contact information, the very first thing that's required of you to click, not the business, is a personal account. All right, ensure that you tick the personal account here. You can see it. Having done that, you input your full name, and then you input your phone number, starting with your country code. If you're in America, you do your +1. And if you are in Ghana, you input what you should input. If you're in Nigeria, you input your +234, and then you take off the 0 in your account, you enter it, and your country, this person is in India, then your address will be entered in here. Having done that, you're almost done. You take up your city, input your state, the postal code. For my own postal code, my postal code is 500 101. That's my own postal code. Then you are 2 steps into it, and then you click this continue step. Having done that, we move on to the next page that will pop up. Hold on. You know, we are trying to judge our security, secret codes and the rest. Okay. So okay, once that is done, it will take us to the payment page. In the payment page, you pick your card, and then you input your card number. This is the whole reason why this aspect of the class is not live, because I wouldn't be entering my card number before the general public, because after this class, many others will be joining to want to view this video. So you enter it, you input in your expiration date, you enter your name on the card, then the CVV is a 3-digit security number behind your card. You enter the CVV, you use my contact address as your billing address. And progressively, you move down to where, now there's a question here asking, do you have a PAN? Just go straight up if you do not have and say no. And you move down and verify and continue. Once you verify and continue, the next page will be loaded, and that is for you to confirm your identity. In the confirmation of your identity, you will choose which way you want it. It's either you would want to confirm it through text message or voice call. But on my own, I took text message. Then you pick your country or region code. Like for those that are in India, you take +91. For Nigeria, you take +234, and you impute here. And then you put in your phone number again. Then you enter the security check the way it's been displayed here. So a verification code would be sent to you, and you impute this verification code. This verification code that you receive via SMS on your phone, you impute it here, and then you click the verify code. I haven't done that. This brings us to the basic, the support plan. So what kind of plan do you want? For us that are freshers, we are required to go with the free tier account, which is the basic support free tier account is what you are advised to take. You enter that one. What is remaining was for you to complete the sign up, and congratulations, you are done with the signing up process. Yeah, you're done with the signing up process. It's very easy. You all by yourself can handle it. Now, I haven't done this. This is not all. We still have to get in and configure the billing. We have to sign in and set up the billing system. So yeah, now permit me to go live. All right. Now I can go live here. Let's see how we can log in now. Let me go live now to an existing root account. So we are going live to an existing root account. Now, looking at this, you can see that we have two accounts. We have the root user account. We have the IAM user. Okay, for security reasons, you are encouraged to use the IAM user account, but you have to configure it and give it permission through the root user. The root user is just like where you have the complete administrative right. So it is not advisable for you to work with it always. So let's move on. Now we'll log in. Okay, let's see if this will take us in. You enter your password. Okay. I have multi-factor authentication. So you two would have to get that done. That would be a class for how to get it done, when we are treating the identity and access management. So just a minute. The whole process is simple. If you can follow this explanation, you wouldn't struggle to get it done. Coming, let me retrieve this MFA code. Just a minute. Yeah. Wow, this takes us in. So this is how the console looks like. This is how the console looks like. Okay, you have your name here and the region selected. You can see that my region is not Virginia. That is what I took. So most times we may be changing it as the class proceeds, but for now you can choose your region wherever you are. So now let's go to billing. And through the search, you enter billing. Okay, look at it. It's showing here. You tap it and it will load. So after that, all right, update your access permission for AWS billing. All right, I'll get that done. Okay, so now let's check. We'll go down to cost management. Cost management. Under cost management, you would see budget. You click the budget. All right. Then what do? You go to create a budget. You tap it. Now, for the sake of this class, as freshers, you are expected to use this zero spend budget. And now we have used a template simplified. You leave it checked, and then you go to the zero spend budget. You enter your budget name. It's the budget name here. You enter the budget name and the email address that you want to use in receiving messages, because this would be before you now start exceeding your free tier bandwidth. AWS would like to make you a mail to tell you how far you have gone. So if you have to, start checking and be closing up some instances that you have opened that may want to incur some cost, you get them closed immediately. So, all right, this is this. You enter the email. For the sake of this account, let's use this. Then you go down to create budget. That's all. Okay, so you can see the threshold given to me, $1 threshold. That does not mean that I would have to use it up. But if you go on and start using some instances, it may attract additional cost. So that's about setting up of this account. Now, the next thing is how we can set up the IAM user account, like I said. So you log into your root account. Where we are now, we are in the root account. You log into the root account. Okay. So I'm not going to re-log in. I'm not going to re-log in. You log into your root account. You go right into the search and you type IAM. This is what is showing here. Can you see that? IAM. You click it. Okay. So we'll go down to under access management, we will click user. We will click user. Already, you can see that I have an account already showing here, which is 150 days old. 158 days old. But we can create another account by going on to add user. So you impute the username. All right, you impute the username. You pick your own naming convention. If you are Judith, you're going with Judith. So you provide access to the AWS management console is optional. So if you are providing console access to a person, it's best practice to manage your access in IAM identifier. So let's leave this. Okay, let's click it because I would still come and close the account. Let's ignore it because it will make things complicated for us. Let's just leave it and click next. So now we are being asked to either add user to a group if you had an existing group, because most times as you work as a cloud engineer, a solution architect, you're going to be working in a group. So peradventure, you have some groups configured. Like if you see my screens, groups are already configured. I have the cloud shift, I have the cloud security, and so on and so forth. But now about 6 groups are configured in this account. You can see them, engineers, developers, and so on and so forth. So, but for you, you may ignore that one and go to attach policies directly. These policies are how you're going to control the permission you're going to give to the IAM user account that you are creating. So what I would say at this point, the kind of permission you can give to it, just give it administration access. All right. I mean, I hope we configured the password. Just hold on a bit. Let me ensure that everything, let me go back. Let's see this. So we'll not be missing some steps. Okay. Ignore it. Let's move on. So you click administrator access. That is what you want to give to this IAM user. The kind of permission. Okay, it's already showing here. So you can tick this and go down. And you say next. Peradventure, you want to give them a S3 permission or any other permission, you can search here and get it. But for now, we are using, you can see Amazon S3 full access. That's not what we are given. We are given an alternative access. Sorry. Let's go back to get it configured. Okay, we'll go down to take the next button. This brings us here. You can see the permission given. Administrator access. You can see the name. Okay, we didn't configure the console password type. Required password reset. For now, we say no. So we're going to be working with the password that would be sent to us if we had ticked that. So ignore the tags. You don't need it. It's optional. Then you say create. Boom, we are here. CMEX is already created. It's already created. So since password was not given, let's see. Say view user. Let's click it. Let's click it and see. Okay, so we can copy this link here, this ARN, and then we use it, we save it somewhere. And if we want to log in, we can use this, but a step was omitted, the step of creating the password when you are trying to log in the very first time. But you may want to ignore that. As you get it done, you can enable it. Okay, these details that you have here, you save them, and you save this link. Peradventure, you want to log into your account the next time you use it. Okay, that is that for now. I would have to go through because the AWS keep upgrading, changing their console. So we still have to go back and check how to configure the password for the root user account. Okay, but it's quite easy. If you follow the steps, you'll get it done. So that is it for now. That is it for now. Okay, we're going to take a little introduction to the next class, which is about VPC. We'll talk about it while we set the ground for the provisioning of the VPC. And that will be done. The provisioning will be done tomorrow. So let's move on to see a slide. But before that, let's take contributions from people that are here. So if you have a contribution to make, you can kindly unmute and speak.
Good evening.
Yeah, Benjamin, good evening. Go ahead.
I just have a few to chip in. You know, when you configuring the root account, you know, I know you didn't want to go to details about this, because the reason why I decided to say something, because it's not everybody will understand how to transit from that root account into IAM by giving them all the necessary permission they need to operate within IAM. Because basically, from root account is where from root account is where we prepare the IAM ready. Because as soon as we are done, as soon as we are done with root accounts, we don't have any business there, because root account is just for when it just don't have any business there anymore. Then we started using our IAM environment to carry out the activities within IAM, how to create a group user, how to create user, how to give them permission and etc. You understand? So I think what I'm trying to say here, I think we should have thrown more light on that root account very well, how to enable and give them permission on how to use IAM policy. I don't know if you understand me, Times.
I'm coming. I heard you. Okay, you said we have to throw more light on how to give the root account permission, or
no. What I'm trying to say here is, from root account we set up, we prepare IAM ready. Once that root account is done, we don't need to come back there anymore, because we need to enable the permission that we need to enable from the root account. Then once we get into identity access management, then we don't go back to that place anymore, because it's not everybody that will understand how we get there. And again, I also notice the password configuration, when you created Timex, because because if you are explaining to me right now, how do we get the access key? How do we get the access key? And 1 second, please. So how do we get the access key? Because this is
Are you talking about the access password or access key?
Say that again.
Are you talking about access password or key?
Yes, because you need to get that. You need to get that in order to understand how all these things integrate, how all these things work together. Because if you don't throw more light on it, then many might not really understand how it works, because these are the things that you use to get to the back end of the server if you are meant to configure.
All right, let's go over what we have done, okay, and take it step by step. All right, because we need to be able to use an access key and get into the console through the back door also, right? Is it what you mean? And also, so now, let's say we do this and we had the user. So this is what we skipped. Well, let's take it back to what we skipped. Say, all these accounts will be closed, or else they would start charging me. So this provides user access to the AWS management console. If you are providing console access to a person, it's a best practice to manage their access in IAM identified center. Okay, so now, Benjamin, are you there? Am I connected?
Yes, Timex, continue.
Okay, this is specified user in identity is not recommended. Maybe you say IAM user, I want to create an IAM user. Then you move on to this, which is auto-generate password. Auto-generate password, which we have taken here. And this, let's go down. And this, a user must create a new password at the next sign-in recommended. So when we move on through this channel, what is remaining is just for us to take the next. So the system is going to generate a password for us, which we would be required to change when we are resigning in to the IAM user account. So let's see. Let's click next. So we re-add the policies. So I gave it an administration or administrator access. That's what I gave it. But that administrator access can enable it to use the basic things. The user account will be able to use the basic thing, or else other access that you want to give to it, you can give to it. But this administrator access should be enough. But some accesses that you give to it might incur cost. So for the sake of this account, let's leave it at that. Any contribution, Benjamin? Are you good? Should we move on?
Yes, TMS. Yeah.
Your yes is sounding as if there is some other things in your stomach. So we want to go ahead. We are going to ignore the tags. We don't need the tags for now. You can see the rights given. IAM user change password. Like, it's a permission policy that is being given to this account, but it has to be once. Administrator access, AWS manager function. So we create user. So you see we have auto-generated password here. And we can download the CSV file but in the meantime, you write your password down by clicking this. When you say show password, the password given, you write it down. Okay. You see the username and the password. I'm going to take it down now. Before we now click the next thing. So the password looks complicated. Now in this CSV file that is being downloaded here, if you can see my screen, all the information required are there. Yeah, the password is here, this is what is required of us. But now, Benjamin still wants us to create all right, let's move up and see. You can email it. You can email these signing instructions that we've just created to a specific email if you want to. Then the access, for the sake of the access key, which is not showing here, where do you want us to retrieve it from, Benjamin?
Okay, when it comes to the access key, you need to go back a bit from the console where you created this, and that's where you can create the access key.
We have to recreate it. So that is to say
inside you know, when you were creating this account, this user account, you know, after you give them the permission, in that place, you should have created the access key. Sorry, please, sorry, I'm coming. Let me put it 1 second, please.
Are you on your account? If we have to, are you logged on with your laptop?
No, I'm not logged on. No, I'm not. I'm not going through what you are doing here. That's why I'm saying this. So okay, now sorry, please. I click that place, security here, click here, credentials here, then come down a bit. Come down a bit.
They will configure MFA themselves.
No, this way you create this way you create access. Yeah, this way you create.
Okay, so even if I had resigned in, I could have been able to create the access key now.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
I understand. By the teammates, I understand you. Sorry,
it mustn't be like creating it now, right?
No, you can create it from there. Yeah.
I can create it now and maybe come back later, log out when I'm using the account and recreate the access key.
Yes, you can do that. Yes. The reason why I'm saying this, for the people who doesn't really understand, not person like you, people don't really understand how it works. That's why I'm saying it, so that they understand how the access key works and what it's meant for. Please, sorry.
No, you know that there are lots of things in the future that would be done that access key will be required. You know that, right? So
hello, Timis.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this Eric. Yeah, I think what you are trying to say now, or what you're about to say, makes sense, because I don't see the reason why we
Okay, you are breaking. We can't hear you.
maintain the access key for now, because
Can
we
you repeat?
use it tomorrow. So
You can repeat what you have said.
One at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think we should just, go on, and then so when we need to create access key, then we come back and then create it.
Okay. Benjamin wants us to create it now. So let's just create and move forward, all right? Is that okay? And this MFA authentication.
Yes, that's fine. That's fine.
When we are doing identity access management, you can now see how it is. You go back and you create it through here. That's the multi-factor authentication. It enables it's a security function for your account. So let's just move on. So command line interface. Let's leave it as this. All right. We're using CLI. Should we tick more? Benjamin, this is your baby now.
We don't take more. That one is CLI is okay.
It's okay?
Yeah.
All right. Beautiful. So we say next. Now we give it a tag value. We have to describe the purpose of the access key and where it will be used. So let's just say access key. Sorry. Access key for CLI. All right. Command line interface. Now we go. So you can see our access key here. All right, I may not be allowed to want to display it, but by clicking this button, I've copied the access key, and clicking these two will enable me to copy it.
Okay, okay.
All right. So That is it. It's pretty simple. Don't worry, this account may not last. I could be closing it any moment because it's before the world. All these keys, IT guys are very, very good in working with teams. So maybe at the end of today, we'll be closing this account. So that is about that. So we are pretty much good. So when you're logging in the next time you want to use that user account, you are expected to create a new password. You have to create a new password. That is what anybody can do anytime. So we would not want to keep us doing that. Let's quickly move on to the introduction of what we would do tomorrow, and which is the VPC. Somebody is conversant with it, VPC. So I want to systematically organize the class to be very much interactive. All right. I'm going to pick a slide. For those that have been doing AWS, Benjamin is there. I'll pick a slide and you would explain how much you know about it. And also, okay, let's just leave it at Benjamin and I for now. I'm looking at the persons which we have here. So we want to explore AWS VPC in preparation of tomorrow's class. So what is VPC? What does it stand for? And what does it mean? VPC, the full meaning of VPC is a virtual private cloud. Now, virtual private cloud, we know that everything that we do with AWS has to do with the cloud, a secluded environment where informations are stored. When you go on to now start creating a plot of it, assigning specific things to it, and maybe in a way that just like you have a plot of land that is being fenced where lots of other things can go on. So that is it. That is the VPC. You see the VPC as your own plot that is being fenced. That is your own world. Your own world. And you have a security fence, a security walls built around it, which means it's either you give it a permission for things that are in there to have direct access to the internet or not. And this is one of the services provided by Amazon. Yeah, if you want to do things in the cloud, in your own kind of world, that is when you now start creating the VPC. It's advised for organizations to do their things in an isolated environment. So when you have all these being grouped together, you have this portion being given to you, assigned to you, you can now start provisioning things in it. You can now create your EC2 instances, your relational database, and also your elastic load balancers. And now, because you are the owner of that territory, you have the key to it. You can control it. You have control over it. Nobody gets in without getting a permission from you. That environment is being marked out for you and everything that you have to do would be done in there. And everything you have in the VPC, you can enable them to interact and communicate with one another. So there are key features and components of the AWS VPC when we are provisioning it. There's what is called subnet. That is when you have started breaking the VPC into, you further subdividing the VPC into what should be more secret or what should be a little bit public. Yeah. And then you create their own IP addresses. Like I said, it can be public or private. In the VPC, the subnet can be public or private. When it is public, which means it can have direct connection to the internet. What enables you to create this subnet and configure them very well with the network is the IP addresses you will be used. In a way, these are called the CIDR blocks. As we move on with the provisioning, we will try as much as possible to explain them to us. Then on my list, another feature is the route tables. With the route tables, you should be able to organize how network can come in and get out of the VPC. And that is where the traffic control is stationed for the subnet. All the security rules, the traffic rules you want to define can be defined in the route table. Yeah, this is where you can define the kind of network and station network gateways. Then another thing we would be talking about is the internet gateway. The internet gateway, as the name implies, internet gateway, you can see that it's like an entrance where which internet can be allowed into your VPC. The internet gateway enables communication between the VPC and the internet. You know, now the things which you have in the VPC2 are supposed to interact also with the internet because they are internet powered. So it is through the internet gateway you would be able to take it into the public subnet. Then thereafter, from the public subnet, you can now create a connection to your private subnet. There's what is called the NACLs, the Network Access Control List. This is what controls the traffic, inbound and outbound traffic, what must go out of your network, of your VPC, and what comes in. Is a control list. Can you see that? So which means you may want to allow certain addresses and disallow certain addresses. You may have green and red, just to say, green and red IP addresses listed somewhere. Yeah. Okay, let's check further. We have the security group. The security group is just like your fences. These are virtual firewalls for all the instances. The virtual firewalls for your servers, so to say. Prior to this time, some of us could have been conversant with the word VPN than VPC. So I want us to take a look at the VPN, virtual private network, and direct connect as regards the VPC. Now, how do we explain this? Remember what AWS is campaigning for is to ensure that individual operators, individual data owners, to encourage individual data owners to migrate their on-premise servers to the cloud. That is what AWS is canvassing for. That the cloud is more secure, flexible, and not expensive. So when we use the VPN and the direct connect, we try to be able in a secure way connect those on-premises servers straight up to the servers in the cloud. So the virtual private network enables us for the direct connection. So we can either use the AWS Direct Connect or the network, the VPN to get that done when we have the cloud interacting. That is in the cloud, things that are in the VPC interacting with servers that are on-premise. On-premise are the touchable, seeable servers that we keep in the server room. And then we have the ACs on to ensure that they are chilled, day in, day out. And AWS is coming into one to jettison that aspect of maintenance, reducing the maintenance cost, and also to take off the operational cost and the capital expenditures. So they are canvassing to eliminate the CapEx and the OpEx. It's quite cheap. Then another thing that we'll talk about is the VPC peering. VPC is quite huge. It may take us more than 2 weeks to talk about it, except we discover a better way that we can cut short the time. VPC peering. This VPC peering enables you to connect multiple VPCs together, allowing the resources in these VPCs to communicate with each other by using the private IP addresses. Like now you have, just like in your own plot of land, you could, things in your own plot of land could communicate with things in another plot of land. Peradventure, the video player of your brother's property can show on the TV in your sitting room. So VPC peering enables you to get that done. I guess this class is being recorded, right? Did we stop it?
Yes, it's being recorded.
Yeah, beautiful. So that's what the VPC peering does. When you see things in a particular VPC communicating with things in another VPC. So remember, there must be a gateway, and that's where the VPC peering is seated. And part of the rule is that when things in a specific VPC goes out, data should be encrypted. Encrypted is like changing the language in a way that the more you look, the less you see, until they are being, decoded with certain machines, decrypted, that's to say. And so you can understand that as far as data is moving from one place to another, you are required to encrypt it, either from the customer side or from the Amazon, from the AWS side. We will take a look at that and what is recommended. Now, what are the benefits? First here is the isolation. It provides a secure and isolated environment for resources. So you know that things can really be flexible when you have been able to isolate everything from the bulk of lots of things. And through these VPCs, you can be able to scale things faster. Scalability is the ability for you to spin up new servers, either vertically or horizontally. Or if the traffic is down, you shut the servers immediately. So automatically, it can be handled by a feature called auto scaling. That's a feature owned by Amazon. It enables us to scale up. That's, in my own country here in Nigeria, about 2-3 months ago, the government came up with a policy that most of the transactions should be done through transfers and the rest. They wanted to cut off the use of cash to certain percent. So then people started transferring money, from one place to the other, and the demand for transfer went high, and the servers in the banks could not carry. Why? Because they are on-premise. This scalability is not there. For them to expand further, what would have been there? They could have, what is required for them now to start buying new servers and be installing them rather physically. This is capital intensive. But if they were on cloud, it could have been easier. As the demands, the request for information, the request for transfer keeps ramping up, the machine would be immediately spinning up the new servers to be able to contain the demand. And once the demand goes low, automatically it shuts them out. And within the VPC, you can own your own security by creating your own security group and your network access control list. Most times we do experience hybrid. When we say hybrid part of it is on the cloud and some aspect of it is physical. Yeah, that is a systematic way of migrating, because when you are adopting a new technology, it's not encouraged for you to migrate completely. At least you have to migrate systematically. Maybe you move 10% of your servers to the cloud. If it is working fine, you move 20, 30, 40, and then you keep going and you get to a place where it's okay, at this time, let's leave it at 50-50, and then we run. Okay, so in our next class, we would be talking about AWS VPC and how to provision them step by step. We will build your own plots. You will build your own plots. You create subnet within it. You set up your own security group. You run the servers within them, and configure your route tables, and that is that. So Benjamin is going to make some contributions to what we have shared before we call it a day. Benny, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Beautiful. So what do you have to say to?
Yeah, I just want to thank you. I don't want to thank you for for this opportunity given to us to come around, and be part of this class, and also thank you again for today's session. Well, like you said, when it comes to VPC, VPC, like you just explained everything to us, and it's very broad, and by the time we go into hands-on, many of us will understand how is being deployed and configured, and how it is being communicated, from the route table to the subnet, internet gateway, how the both connected to each other, because that is the foundation that we have to understand before we get to EC2. Because without VPC, because without VPC, EC2 will not function perfectly, because that's where the server is situated. So that is where you run all your application in EC2. And this foundation you just giving us right now is what we need to understand before we get to that stage. So the reason why I'm just saying this is just for us to know that the foundation of any machine started from VPC. So, and how important it is, and that is why I'm just saying all this, so that for us to understand how they work hand in hand. Without that, without VPC, how important VPC is, we won't be able to run EC2. We won't be able to run EC2 well. So that is what I feel I should just chip into. So that is it, T-Mex. I don't know if I'm communicating or not.
You just communicated so well, as always, as you have been. The class was going on, and we were moving in a kind of direction. You look at our pace, you said that we are not fully loaded, and we should turn back and pick some other things like the access keys, which we did. And look at us now. We are just doing well. Thank you very much.
I also want to take you back to IAM again. Sorry for taking you back, because I feel that we have to understand, because after you created the user, how do you now attach it to the group? Because you didn't attach that. So somebody who does not have that knowledge, how would that person maybe is trying to figure out something? How would that person be able to, for example, now you created a developer, how do you attach
now,
it?
Okay, let me come in here. You have actually asked a very important question. But now, can you see that I gave the IAM user account an administrative privilege?
Yeah, I saw. Yeah.
So that is an admin. It is
Yeah.
in that account. If the user of that account necessitated to create group for other users,
Okay.
it is through that account that person will now create it, not in the root account.
No, I'm not.
So after the creation of these accounts,
okay,
we will stop using the root account. The next login in would be the IAM user account. So if we get to a place where we want them to create group, like the way you saw the groups I created, the engineering groups, with the developers groups, and if it is part of the assignments we will give them, they would go create groups by themselves and assign users for practicals of what they have done, but they will create it in the IAM user account, not in their root account. Now, for what we have done, we have just retired their root user account.
I agree.
So that is that. I'm going to stop the recording now. All right. Let's stop the recording. We'll stop the sharing first. We